Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very, very senior professional from India, Mr. Harrish Bhatia. Harrish, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Thank you for having me on the show. It's a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Harish is the former president of sales and marketing of the Dainik Bhaskar Group, which is a major media company in India. He's an author of 2 books, Management and Life Lessons from Ground Zero and Jio Dil Se, Live Your Dream. So, Harish, tell me a little bit about your own journey in brief.
Okay, Ashutosh. I was born at Kanpur. I come from a very humble background. And my schooling was all done from Central School. And then I did my graduation from Kanpur Christ College. Post my graduation, I joined a luggage company, Aristocrat Luggage, as frontline salesperson, where I honed my skills of rural sales and I learned a lot of dealing with the customers' services. Post that, I moved to a sunrise industry, electronics in those days, the brand called Onida, the Devil, is famous by that neighbors and the owners brand. And there I served for 12 years. I joined them as sales executive and I moved on from there when I was a DGM for West and South operations. There I learned a great amount of premium marketing. How do you make product? How do you do marketing of premium products? And how do you differentiate yourself in the market? And then the era of multinationals came to India, and I got the opportunity to work with LG. And LG being the Korean multinationals, obviously we all had worked so far in Indian companies. And working with LG was a great experience because they were all process-led, a lot of processes, a lot of things which are very laid down. But LG also, as much as I gave back, as much as I took it from LG, I learned a huge amount of product marketing, product consignment, and was a very founding member of LG and established their Bombay operations and refrigerator business for India. This is which they launched their refrigerator product they launched their plant in Pune. And that really helped me and LG both gain a very strong foothold in India and also a very strong foothold for me because working in Indian companies and working in multinationals is two different life altogether.
Right.
That's it. And post that, I moved to media and entertainment. And media is very exciting, very glamorous. And I thought I have reached to the pinnacle of my consumer durable industry.
Right.
And let me try something new and expand my horizons. So I wanted to try something different. So I moved to media.
So tell me, what's changing from changing your industry from consumer durables to media and entertainment, something which you wanted to do, and what was it like to move from country head of LG to an Indian company?
See, when the change was happening, sometimes, to be honest, as a professional, sometimes you don't give much thoughts that there is a mind for always wanting something different. I mean, I am a person, I want some change, I don't want to, I just get bored of things. So I realized that I need some change. So what change should I take it? And media was always intrigued to me because whenever we used to talk to our advertising agencies, they'll come back. This is the strongest newspaper. This is the good newspaper. How you should choose media, what you should do. So I said, let me try this. And fortunately, I got into it. And when I got into it, actually, that point, the change was change. Whether change was right or not, I didn't know that point of time, frankly. But when I look back now, I see it as a great milestone in my organization, in my life, because so many my own peers who are working with consumer durables, and when I meet them now, they also say that this is the biggest success story we have seen because changing industry, where you are at the top of the industry, and then going to a new industry and reaching the top there
Wonderful.
is something which is it takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of
I'm sure. I'm
uh,
sure.
toil.
So,
So
so what would you say are your own core strengths after almost 4 decades of working?
my core strength as a professional, I would say, first thing is that I have been a great human being as
Mhm.
such, and that humanity, because of my humble background, helps me to deal with the people the way you should be dealing with human beings.
Hmm.
So first thing is, I think as a leader, I learned that if you are good, the people are good to you.
Hmm.
Second thing I would say is that I love creation.
Mhm.
I love to create something different, something new. That really, there is an adrenaline in your blood that okay,
Hmm.
you do something different, you do create something, and you feel very proud of it.
Hmm.
So in all the last 2 decades or maybe 4 decades, a lot of creations which I've done,
Hmm.
like establishing a refrigerator division for LG Electronics, was a great satisfying for me.
Mhm.
That this is what I have done, and
Hmm.
that point of time, our MD, Mr. Kayakim, was very proud of the work we did.
Hmm.
Then moving to media, I launched newspaper.
Hmm.
Now something people have worked in media for many years, but many don't get the opportunity to launch a newspaper from the scratch
Hmm.
and then make it successful.
Hmm. And
And
which newspaper did you launch?
I launched a version of Dainik Bhaskar that's called Devya Bhaskar.
I see.
It's a
Okay.
Gujarati version, and they are
Mhm.
very, very now it's a prominent newspaper in Gujarat.
Hmm.
Then I got the opportunity to launch radios from scratch.
Hmm.
So I launched 30 radio stations of Dainik Bhaskar Group, a brand called MyFM,
Hmm.
on which then I also wrote a brand book called Geo Dil Se,
Hmm.
Live Your Dreams. And that was our philosophy of a brand. So I
Hmm.
think I am a good human being, I would say, by my nature, and
Hmm.
I love creations. So
Hmm.
I would describe myself like that.
Hmm. Very interesting. So let's now talk a little bit about your books, and then we'll come to your last role with the Dainik Bhaskar
Sure.
group. You're an author of 2 books, Management and Life Lessons from Ground Zero and Jio Dil Se, Live Your Dream. Tell me about both these books.
So as I said, the first book, Geo Dil Se, Live Your Dream, is all about. So when we were in radio industry, we found that the place is very cluttered.
Hmm.
You have almost 8 to 10 brands in every market, and how do you differentiate yourself?
Hmm.
Because from music point of view, you can't differentiate the product
Hmm.
because everybody says, "Oh, it's a Hindi music you are playing. Everybody's playing." How are you different? What
Hmm.
is that the brand brings to the table?
Hmm.
So we dissected the brand in such a way that people feel differentiate in our not only our music but also our brand proposition.
Hmm.
So we made a tagline called first we made Dil Se, and then we realized people are not really connecting to it. Then we made it Geo Dil Se.
Hmm.
So we thought it becomes more apparent to people what
Correct.
really we want to do. And
Hmm.
then dissect it. So what does Geo Dil Se stands for?
Hmm.
And you say, what is Jio Dil Se? Means what? Means let's live a life which my heart says. What do I want to do? What I'm passionate about? What I'm obsessed about?
Hmm.
How do I really unwind myself? And when do I unwind myself? So
Hmm.
we made some 10 commandments for the brand on which the entire programming was set in for. So you
Hmm.
have music on one side, but then you have a brand proposition on the other side, which
Hmm.
helped us differentiate ourselves. And this really differentiated in such a way that in the market, people will not remember our brand name, but will remember our tagline. And so
Hmm.
Geo will say. They will not say my fam, they'll say Geo will say.
Hmm.
So I think we are very successful in creating that differentiation where
Hmm.
people name the brand with our tagline. So
Hmm.
it really helped us.
Very interesting. And your second book, Management and Life Lessons from Ground Zero?
So this is the same thing as you mentioned in the beginning that in our days there were not much recommendations on the books. In
Hmm.
fact, I can narrate one small incident.
Hmm.
I was in Onida. One day, my national head came to Kanpur and he asked me,
Hmm.
"What do you do?"
Hmm.
your leisure time? I said,
Hmm.
I just watch movies and meet
Hmm.
friends. He said, what about some reading?
Hmm.
I said, I just finished college a
Hmm.
few years back. Do you want me
Hmm.
to read more? What?
Hmm.
He said, why don't you read some books? I said, which books can you recommend me?
Hmm.
So he recommended a book called Made in Japan
Hmm.
by Akio Morita, the chairman of Sony.
Correct. Hmm.
Another wonderful book I read. From there, I picked up the habit of reading books.
Hmm.
And then last few years, I would say 4 or 5 years, I realized a lot of people from, especially I relate with a lot of people coming from uh, my kind of towns, tier 2, tier 3 towns,
Hmm.
who are not exposed to the metro culture or maybe even the knowledge and maybe not the corporate world, because I was the first person from my family to join a corporate world. I said, how will they understand how to conduct themselves in
Hmm.
corporate?
Hmm.
So that's why I've written my book. My book is all about practical life stories or practical experiences that I went through myself.
Hmm.
And I learned it from the ground. That's why I call it ground zero. So,
Wonderful.
so all
Wonderful.
the lessons there or all the learnings there, and many places I may not have quoted the real life examples,
Hmm.
uh, honestly, and some people gave me this feedback, and I really appreciate that.
Hmm.
But all the learnings are from my own life professional journey. That
Hmm.
how you should conduct yourself when you are in corporate world.
Hmm.
So it
Very
is for
interesting.
all those people who are coming from these places.
Fantastic. And you also speak about not making plan B. You know, every leader that I have ever worked with or has spoken to me always says, always have a plan B. You says, don't have a plan B. Tell me your logic for this comment.
Actually, I have a very strong conviction, and this is my experience also of my life.
Hmm.
When you have too many options,
Hmm.
then your focus is not there.
Correct.
But suppose you have only one option,
Hmm.
then what do? You make it happen.
Hmm.
You do some work on something. You have planned a goal. You keep on working on it,
Hmm.
and you will feel some challenges. You will get some obstacles. If you have second option, your mind will shift to second option.
Hmm.
But if suppose you don't have option, it's like going to the war and say I'm fighting with my enemy. Now
Hmm.
you're saying, oh, he's too strong. Let me change the battlefield.
Hmm.
You can't. He's the enemy there at the border. You have to fight it out.
Hmm.
So why have a plan B? Plan B makes you weaker to work on plan A.
Hmm.
Hence, I say let's have only one plan and let's work on it.
Wonderful.
That's what my life has been. That I didn't get many options, one option to choose, so I gave 100% to it to make it successful.
Hmm. Fantastic. So now let's talk a little bit about the last 10, 15 years of your life, which has been in media. And you were, before we started recording, you were telling me that you launched many, many radio channels. So tell me a little bit about radio and what goes into launching a radio channel.
Okay, so radio is a very interesting medium.
Hmm.
Frankly, there's a small story.
Hmm.
One day I went to my promoters, Dainik Bhaskar Group directors, and I said, I'm not enjoying my work. That point
Hmm.
of time, I was senior vice president for sales and marketing for corporate sales based
Hmm.
at Bombay.
Hmm.
And he said, why, what happened? I said, no, with so much of knowledge I have, I don't think I'm cut out only for sales. I want to really go deeper into the life and,
Hmm.
work something different. That is a point they were about to launch a radio stations.
Hmm.
So they asked me, will you be interested in this? I said, what is it?
Hmm.
I didn't know anything about radio. I only knew radio means music.
Hmm.
They said there will be a programming head who will report to you, dotted line, finance head who will report to you, dotted line, HR head who will report to you, dotted line. So I got confused. What is this dotted line all about? So they said, think about it, let us know. So
Hmm.
after 2 days, they again made a call to me. I
Hmm.
said, I don't understand this dotted line.
Hmm.
If my role is only to generate revenues, I'm not interested.
Hmm.
But if you're saying I have to be all in all, I will go for it.
Hmm.
Because if you say dotted line, I don't understand. He said, no, they're all reporting to you. We are just don't confuse. They are all part of your team, and you are the boss. Then I took up that stand, and obviously, uh, I didn't realize that it's going to be so exciting phase of my life because suddenly I realized that when I used to work on programming, on branding, on marketing, all that experience of last 2 decades, they really helped me so much to really discover myself. I was launching radio station, but I was discovering myself. There was so much in me which I gave back. There was a ideal professional leader, how a organization must conduct itself. Whatever my learnings were, like one of the learnings I always had was, I still remember some 30, 40 years back, I saw one ad of Tata Group, full page ad on the front page. And the tagline was employees first. Thank you. There was some celebration, some anniversary. So we want to thank you our employees. And then they wrote vendors and other people. That really hit me hard. I said, this is the kind of organization one must create. Employees are first. So I implemented all those learnings of my life in creating a brand called MyFM. And my focus was always employees first. Because I understood if employees happy, we will be able to create a team and a brand which will be the world's best. And that really was the result. We were the fastest radio station to have done break even in 3 years. And we did PAT positive in 4.5 years' time, which is the fastest in radio industry.
Fantastic. But tell me, I've been speaking to many people, and some people say radio is the sunrise industry. Some people say radio is the sunset industry. What are your thoughts? Because you've built many, many radio channels.
So there are two things, about the radio. It will never become a, industry which will not be respected, because in India you still have almost 60 to 70% people living in villages, and the economic factors force you to get free entertainment. Right now, there's nothing free in India. You want to watch a good movie, you have to pay for it. But on radio, the music is free. So that's why it will always be sunrise. But how it can become a big is that the government needs to really come forward and address some of the very vital issues of the industry. First is expanding the private radio network to the places where they need to be. Right now, the government is very slow on this process. They are rather focused more on their own All India radio than on the private FM station. So that's what is challenging. And I don't know what is stopping them, why they can't stop All India radio and just let the private players flourish it. Second, their biggest challenge is music royalties. That issue has been going on in the courts for last more than 2 decades. Some decisions come, then they change it again, then they change. So radio, if you want people to become a very penetrative medium to the last mile in the rural market, you have to really address some of those issues. And it is a greatest medium in a country like us, where we have a huge challenge of literacy, where we have a huge challenge of economic reasons. I think it's a great medium to really connect with the masses.
I understand. There's also a lot of talk, Harish, about internet radios and taking them global. Have you looked at that?
India, the policy, India, the policy for internet radio is yet not clear, and it will not be clear till the time you solve the issue of music royalty. Music royalty is very heavy cost, and small places you can't generate revenues from advertising. As a result, it won't be successful till you resolve that. Now there are radio stations which have come, but unfortunately they call it FM, but they don't play music. They're all doing podcasting. So they're doing stories and all that. There's no music in that. So that's what is happening. There are 2 or 3 I know which have come up, but they don't have music as such, because the music cost is very high in India.
Very interesting. So I have time for one more question, Harish, and this is for the many, many people who will listen to our conversation. Based on your amazing experience from ground zero, to use your own terms, what would you say are three lessons you would want a lot of our young viewers and listeners to take away from your own journey and from our conversation?
I think the first thing I would always say to my young generation is that uh, our times 40 years back and now the life has changed a lot.
Hmm.
We were not blessed with uh, knowledge at our fingertips.
Yeah.
We had to really struggle a lot
Hmm.
to go to the library to read the books. They are very expensive. Now the things are on your fingertips.
Hmm.
But you were to read books then also, and you have to read internet also. If you have
Hmm.
to really, have to be updated yourself.
Hmm.
So one is that you have to really read a lot
Hmm.
and get yourself lot of exposure to the new things that are changing the dynamics of the industry every day.
Correct.
So you have to be tech savvy. When I say tech savvy, doesn't mean operating tech, but learning about the tech.
Hmm.
How is artificial intelligence impacting the life? How is machine learning impacting life? So
Hmm.
one has to be in nowadays a generalist. He has to be a generalist. He can't be a specialist. Because I think the world for specialist is going down and
Hmm.
the world for journalist is coming up.
Hmm.
That's first thing I would say. Second thing is I think whether you are a leader or an entrepreneur or
Hmm.
whatever, you really have to be a great human being.
Hmm.
Without being great human being,
Hmm.
to connect with your people, whether you're an entrepreneur or a professional, will never be like that, that you
Hmm.
are able to extract best out of them.
Hmm.
I think these are two things which I would say that one
Very
should
interesting.
always
Yeah, very,
mind.
very interesting. And on that note, Harish, and your amazing lessons, which is, acquire as much knowledge as you can, read a lot, get tech savvy, get exposure. And the second one you said was be a great human being, which is really the base of every single relationship that we talk about and we live with. Thank you so much for speaking to me about your own amazing journey. Thank you for speaking to me about how you have really transitioned from an Onida to an LG to a Dainik Bhaskar group. Uh, Thank you also for speaking to me about multiple aspects about your books and about internet and other radio. Thank you for speaking to me, and all the very best as you plan your new company uh,
Thank you.
going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashu. Thank you for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for
Thank you.
having me here.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called You.